Welcome to our Simple Healthy Life podcast, where our goal is to have real, insightful conversations on topics that we find interesting. And today, I find it very interesting that Ryan received his black belt in jiu-jitsu.
Yes.
I'm going to make it about me for 1 second. I got to be there. As most people that listen to the podcast know, my journey was on pause for a while due to an injury. And the universe told me that I was ready to go back. For day one, I showed up, I did my training, and at the end, they promoted you to black belt, they being Professor Moricelli. So enough about me. Tell me all about that, because that's got to be really cool. That's got to be a really cool feeling.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was nice to have you there. I mean, what a happy coincidence that that's the first day that you were there, and lo and behold, that's the day that I get promoted. I was glad to have you there. Yeah, it was weird. I mean, you think about it, like you think about that day, right? Like, ooh, I can't wait to get black belt. It's gonna be such a big day, right? And then you get to it, and it's just kind of like, I'm a black belt now, and it's cool, right? It's like certainly cool because it represents something. But I thought a lot about it, after that, and it represents more. The belt itself represents more to other people than me, right? It signals to other people like, hey, he's put in the time and the effort, and he loves the sport and all that kind of stuff. But I already knew that. I already knew that I loved that. I already knew that where my technique level was. I already knew where my performance was. I already know how much sweat I put into it, how much blood and injuries, and all of that is all well known. And so it's an odd feeling because it's such a, for us, how we work so much on the internal world to have it represented externally after all those years of work and understanding that it all happens on the inside is kind of a weird feeling. And so it wasn't as like profound as you'd think. And I don't know if that's the average experience, but it certainly was for me.
Well, so I'm a blue belt, as the world knows.
Big dog.
Yes. I think it's actually kind of interesting how it's almost the opposite, where you go from white to blue. It is this feeling because you're like, all right, I'm doing something right. Like I figured, like you're being like noticed for like, all right, like I did something right. Like, it doesn't feel like you're doing things right all the time because you're constantly getting beat up and messing up and getting yourself in bad spots. But you're like, all right, yeah, I'm doing something right. But now that you've put in how many years did it take?
Yeah, a little over 9.
So now that you're 9 years in, right, and you've gone through the white, the blue, the purple, the brown, you're doing the right stuff.
Right.
You're progressing. There's no one really kind of has to explain it to you. And, one of the things that people maybe don't recognize is they don't like hide the black belts in the corner. Like you get to compete against them as a brown belt. So you knew you were doing fine. It's not like there wasn't this big like secret.
Right.
So yeah, I can understand but how about the feeling, or I mean I'm gonna make up a word for you, but how about the feeling of like fulfillment? Like a goal achieved. What did that feel like?
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird. We've talked about this before, but that idea of, that book, Why Greatness Can't Be Planned. And I think I liked that book so much. That was the one that talked about how maybe goal setting isn't really the right way for fulfillment, essentially. And yeah, I mean, as much as we talk about like intentions, I don't really have like super defined goals. I never really did. I have very loose goals. I've always had very loose goals. Like, this is the right direction. Like I have a compass, right? But I don't really say, well, yeah, I'm going to do this and then like really work towards that, which, I don't know if that's good or bad. I think it's just kind of like how I've operated. And would there be utility in me, really defining something? Probably, but also then it's limiting, right? And that's the whole point of that book too, is that like when you have your crosshairs on a specific place, then you're kind of limited to all the other beautiful options that can come your way too. And so for me, it was, yeah, I mean, black belt was kind of like a loose goal. But I guess in the same way, like if you don't have a really defined goal, then there's nothing really truly to like super celebrate either. And not to say that it's not worth celebrating or, you know, not, it wasn't fulfilling or an achievement or anything, but yeah, it just is, it was more like, it's more in your mind than anything. And then when you get there, you're like, okay, cool, another belt, another day, and I'm going to show up tomorrow and do the exact same thing. And I'm going to show up for however many years and do the exact same thing every time. And it's not going to change really anything. It might change how people see me, right? But then again, you work so hard on having that not matter in some regard.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, I mean, I know I was honored to even just be there because for someone that's, you know, from the outside looking in, like it just signifies how much work you put in, right? And I mean, I know I was in the room for a long time when there were many people in the room being like, I don't know why he still has a brown belt because he's kicking all these dudes' butt, you know, which, you know, I'm sure you hear the rumors and that you don't let that get in your head. But yeah, I mean, you put in the time, you put in the work, you got there, and now it's really nice to hear that the journey isn't over. Right now it's like just the next step. Now, are you going to do any competitions at Black Belt?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely will. I don't know how soon that'll be. But yeah, I feel pretty comfortable going in, and you know that's the thing that I didn't really like about competitions, anyways, is that it was separated by belt, and it just feels like weird to me. Although it's like it's for good purpose, like keep people like competing against their skill level, and otherwise, you know, no one's going to compete, right? If you're white belt going against.
Sure.
You know, so it makes perfect sense, and I don't necessarily disagree, but it always felt a little weird. I'm like, yeah, I mean, you could win white belt worlds, but, you know, what does that even mean?
It means you should have been a blue belt.
Yeah, exactly. And now that it's like black belt, it feels kind of cool because, all right, now it's like the, you know, realistically the best people. Right. And so competition like matters a lot more, I guess. And I think that's generally how it's viewed. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. It'll be some good challenges for me.
I think it's kind of funny too. So like when you get to that, and this is again, I'm just looking at it from the outside in. When you get to that level of black belt, like, and you go to compete, it almost like takes the pressure and almost turns the competition from you to like the coach that gave you your black belt, right? Like. Are you part of a school that gives out black belts to people because they paid for them, right. You know, or just put in enough quote unquote time, or was there like there's, for those of you that don't know, like there isn't like a standardized test, right? Like, it's not like you just show up and be like, can you do these 7 things? Like, I again from the outside looking in, like I would be incredibly honored to earn it from someone like Jair Morcelli. I mean, the dude is still competing at his age, and you know, really, in my opinion, personifies what it means to be a black belt. So he certainly is capable of identifying and promoting someone to black belt, in my opinion. But I know there's schools out there that maybe aren't or maybe don't. So I kind of think it's funny where it's like now it's like you are a black belt, but there's even within that there's like levels.
Oh yeah. It's definitely like, and it's a thing too when people go into competitions and they have like these, you know, they're like a very loose black belt and they just get dominated by people. And there's like, yeah, I mean, it doesn't look great.
Yeah, it's not a good look for the school.
Right. And not to say, I mean, sometimes it just is the way it is, you know. And I made a post, you know, like the black belt post or whatever, and you know, the whole theme was like, you know, black belt doesn't really mean that you're good at jiu-jitsu. There's plenty of black belts who are not great, right? I've rolled with all of them from white belt to, you know, now. I roll with many black belts. So I'm like, you know, you have a belt that's black, but I don't know what else that means for you. And then it doesn't necessarily mean you know everything. I mean, I certainly don't know everything about jiu-jitsu. I know some positions very well. I know loosely. You know, I can navigate almost every situation, but do I know them well? No. Do I know every single position? Not at all, right? It's like claiming that you would know like every every situation in a game of chess when there's like an infinite amount of moves, basically, and,
Right.
Combinations, right? You know, does it mean you're tough? I mean, probably not. Does it mean you're a good person? Certainly not. I know plenty of very terrible people who are black belts, right? But I think it does mean that you love jujitsu. That's the only thing I think it really does mean. How can you commit so hard to something? You know, and most generally it takes about 10 years to get a black belt. So, you know, give or take a couple, depending on the school and like if the person's really super active and you know committing a lot, then you know maybe 6-7 years. But nonetheless, I mean, it's a lot of time. It's a lot of time, and so to give that amount of time, focus, energy, and attention to anything, I mean, I think that's what love is, right?
Really? Yeah, I agree. I mean, if we've been talking for a long time, and one of the things that I preach to all my athletes is until you learn to love practice, you're never going to be the best.
Right.
Right? Like when you show up and all of a sudden, like one day you're like, man, I just love practice. I love to be here.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you have a shot. Because that's when you stay late, you put in the extra time, you show up early. Those kids that are like, oh man, I just want to play, like totally get that. But like, what are you doing on Wednesday? If the game's on Friday, like if you're not happy on Wednesday, you're not going to be the best on Friday. You gotta learn to love practice.
Right.
And for you, I mean, how many? Did you do the calculation? Did you do any loose calculations on how many hours it was?
Just whenever I had mentioned that in one of the last podcasts, it was like, you know, somewhere around 5,000 hours. I don't know if that's actually super accurate, but I figure, you know, I train 5 times a week or a little bit less now than I ever have actually. I still train a good bit, but I think I go 4 days a week now, and the weekends are usually a little bit longer, 2 hours, a little bit, 2.5 hours, but nonetheless, a little bit less than I ever have. And yeah, I think about 5 to 6,000 is probably a fair assessment, and it's not even at the 10,000 hour mark that they say is like mastery, right? Which is crazy to think about.
Yeah, I think that was it. The book Bounce. Is that what it was? Bounce. I think
It's cited in a couple of books, but I've known it to be from Mastery by Robert Greene.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I read the book Bounce, and it was the same thing, 10,000 hours. Yeah. And, you know, you get the chance to get 10,000 hours when you start when you're young.
Right.
Right? Like, I think I've got to 10,000 hours on the wrestling mat, but I got to start when I was young.
Right.
You know, I'm 43, and so it just, I'm pretty sure I got there. Do I feel like I mastered wrestling? Absolutely not. Do I know it well enough to teach it?
Yeah.
Yes, which I'm really proud of. But yeah, and even at that point, I still get taken down, still lose, still have all the things happen. But it doesn't mean you're still not an expert. It's like kind of what you just said about being a black belt.
Right, yeah. It's so much, yeah, I mean, it's so much time. I mean, nonetheless, like, it's good to know that you can put in time to something and just get better, right? And that's the thing. Like, I didn't necessarily start off loving jiu-jitsu. We talked a little bit about this, like, on one of the previous podcasts. Like, it was interesting, and I certainly liked it, right? But it wasn't like, you know, I didn't go every single day and love everything that I was doing or even like everything that I was doing. But after a period of time, it's nice. It's nice to have that as a skill. It's nice to have that to go back to, and you start to see the benefits of, you know, knowing something and working on things and, you know, represent, you know, the cool thing about jiu-jitsu is like, yeah, the belts represent externally, you know, your rough skill level and commitment and all of that. But you have all that internally too. You know, like, I have a skill internal to me that only I can feel that. And you, same with wrestling. Like, you know that, and you don't necessarily need to prove that. You know, that's confidence, right? Like, when you know that you can do something relatively well, and you've proven that to yourself. I mean, I think that's the essence of confidence, and that's why a lot of people, especially like in the world that we work in, and certainly when I talk with clients and stuff, I mean, there are people with no hobbies at all, like none. They just did school and, I don't know, got to adulthood and then just did work, and they don't really put time and energy into anything specifically. And I think I know that it doesn't serve people well. to sit there and say, well, I don't really have anything that I can call me, right? But jiu-jitsu's pretty me. Wrestling's pretty you. You know, I do some music, that's pretty me, right? Some people draw, that's pretty them, right? But yeah, I think when people lack that, it's a big problem.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It fills your time, and I'm not going to speak for everybody, but when you lack that, it fills your time with scrolling,
Right.
television. That's really it, right? I mean, even if someone was like, "No, I just love to read," perfect, right? But like, if you don't have anything, you're just staring at the screen. You know, you become a robot.
It's so bad.
It's very frustrating to see other people do it and not be able to kind of guide them or help them or offer them some type of like, hey, what about this? And especially as an adult, right? You become afraid. Like, why would I go show up at this place and be a white belt? Why would I go show up at this place and be brand new? Like all these other people already know. And, you know, you take that attitude and then all of a sudden you're not going anywhere. You're not meeting new people. You're not doing things, right? But it happens to so many people, and it's really tough. And you know, you get to see it in your environment. And I'm in the gym a lot. I'm in the actually physically in the gym a lot. Not that I'm lifting, but I'm actually there. Yeah. So the people I see are essentially there, right? So at least they got there. Yeah. And I was thinking about this the other day how. Actually, I was having a conversation with someone about it. How we compare ourselves to the people around us. So like there's all these people in the gym that are like, oh, let's face it, most of them have body dysmorphia, right? They have a feeling about the way their body looks. That's why they're there, because they want to improve upon it. And they're comparing themselves to the other people in the gym. And it's like, but you're comparing yourself to these other people that are in the gym doing the same stuff you're doing. Like, what about all the people that are still on the couch? Right. You know, it's cliche to say you're beating all the people on the couch, but you are beating all the people on the couch. Yeah. You know, every white belt that showed up at jiu-jitsu is beating all the people that are like, man, I wish I could do that. Right? And we don't ever think about it that way because we have this like negative bias towards ourselves, almost all of us, and we put ourselves down for where we're not, even though where we are is generally pretty great.
Right. That's one of my theories about body dysmorphia, or I'll share one of my theories about it, is that I think that so many people struggle so hard with that, both male and female. Females more like, you know, that like oriented to like thinness and whatever. Males more oriented to like muscular, strong, that kind of stuff. But I think so many people struggle with that because their only hobby is gym and is lifting and or exercise. And so that's their first true hobby. I mean, I can't tell you the number of dudes who like their only hobby aside from like video games or something is going to the gym. And then it's like, wow, I can go and I can do something. I can get stronger. I can progress. Wow, that's pretty cool. Yeah, feels nice to have a hobby. But then it gets to the point where like, is that a great hobby? Is it great to like want to always improve in your body image or to look for that? Like you're literally training to look for improvements in your body image. And it's not really, you can't really control it, right? As much as people want to sell you like you can look this way and you can do this and you can do that. I mean, you can't actually manipulate the body as much as you would like and as much as you're sold. And some people have some, you know, more or less agency over that. You know, some people's bodies just work a little differently, but it's really dangerous because then they're stuck with this one hobby that they really like. They like health. They like movement. They like that stuff. But at a certain point, you can only progress so far within those boundaries, and then that becomes really damaging to people.
Then they just stop feeling good about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I see it all the time. I joke with people all the time. It's like, it's clearly what's driving you, and you decide if that's good or bad.
Right.
Right. You know, I know I have it. I know I was talking to somebody at the gym. I mean, that I walk in and I'm like, wow, that dude, he's in great shape. You know, his name's Ron. He's a stud, really great guy. And I was talking to him and his wife, and his wife looks at me and she was like, he changed his T-shirt 3 times today before we came to the gym because he felt like he looked fat. And like, that's wild,
Right.
you know? Because from the external, I'm like, dude's killing it. He's at the gym all the time. He looks great. He's in great shape. He's probably like 18% body fat. But internally, the way his clothes fit, the way he felt that morning was literally like negative.
Because you raise it to a level of importance because you act as if it's important. You show up every day, you do the things, and you act as if, and it is important to him and other people. But then, your comparison group is really, it's too hard to like actually compete there, right?
Do you get that same problem with music? Like, do you like play your guitar one day and you're like, man, I suck today? I don't know. I'm curious.
I used to like all of these things. I struggle with, body dysmorphia so bad, like eating disorder kind of stuff, and like insecurity around music and insecurity just generally, right? But I found that as I've expanded my hobbies, like get into jiu-jitsu and do music and whatever else I do, reading and a little writing, all the things that I do now, it gives me a bit of a buffer, I think. Like I'm more well-rounded, and I have like areas that I've developed, both like physical, creative, and I guess more like knowledge or career base, right? And those areas are well-rounded. So if I feel like I'm watching someone like play amazing bass or something and just like blowing me out of the water, I'm like, well, I got jiu-jitsu. And if someone's like really just like ruining my day in jiu-jitsu, it's like, well, I got music. So I think it's really nice to have. And that's the problem, right? It's like you're not you when you only have one hobby. You're just like one walking comparison. And if your one hobby is like, I go to the health, right? Like you're just comparing yourself all day as opposed to being uniquely you and what makes you, or other than just doing the things that you want to do or developing yourself in different ways and learning and growing, right? So that was super protective for me to like get good at different areas, right? And I think if people put a lot of time into one thing, it's fragile for their ego and confidence.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah,
I see it too now, and I don't want to speak out of school because I don't have kids, but I see it a lot with my friends that have kids where they're like, they put so much of themselves into raising their kids that they're like if their kid starts to go down the wrong path or struggle or even like right. God forbid just struggle in an area where they shouldn't or feel as though they shouldn't, they're like, oh man, I'm comparing my 7-year-old's reading level to every, and it's like they feel really down about it instead of being like, it's just part of the game, like some people learn at different levels and all the things, but I don't think I won't go down that path when it comes to that, but I do see it in the same thing. So we kind of touched upon the fact that these are skills, right? Like skills that we're developing, skills that we're still actively developing. And you just had a birthday, 32.
Yeah.
Nice. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Did you get your black belt before or after? Before, right?
I think before.
Like the week before?
Yeah. I'll have to fact check that. Yeah, I think so.
I think so. God?
Yeah. God? Before.
Yeah, see?
Okay.
All right, good. So you're 31.
Yeah.
And you're planning on still developing that skill.
Yeah.
And you're developing the skill of music, and you're developing the skill of writing. And these are things that are helping you live and feel fulfilled. And what would you offer to somebody that's like, I don't know, someone that's like, man, I'm not going to do jiu-jitsu. I'm just not going to do it.
Yeah.
But I don't have any hobbies. What would you offer? Where would they start?
Yeah, I mean, I think people get tripped up a lot of the time when looking for skills or hobbies or passions because they focus purely on like the monetary, right? So many people are so fixated. Like, why would I start painting when I'm never going to be, or at least, I mean, you never know, I suppose, but when I'm never going to be the next Van Gogh or whoever.
No one's ever going to pay me for my art.
Yeah, right. No one paid Van Gogh. And do we say like, well, he shouldn't have done that? Probably not. But, you know, I think people get really locked into the financial stuff, and they say, well, if I don't, if I'm not going to get paid, if I can't envision a world where I get paid for this, I'm just not going to do it. Why would I draw? Why would I do music? Why would I do jiu-jitsu? Why would I do any of these things unless I'm going to like reap some financial benefits? And the problem is that you don't know. Well, you're super naive. You don't know what how arrogant to think that you know enough about like going down the line of jiu-jitsu and knowing that you wouldn't get paid, or knowing that you couldn't get paid from being a painter or a musician or whatever. It doesn't even matter. And the point is that like you're already overthinking it, and so try different things. You know, get a list. ChatGPT is awesome. Well, give me 20 different hobbies I could try, and I'll give you 20 different hobbies, and you just go down the list and you try one, and if any of them feel like remotely interesting, then you dive a little bit further in. And we've talked about that like fogged bridge, right? Like you only know the step in front of you. You know, you have just the step in front of you that's clear. Everything else is fogged. You can't see it. But when you take that step, then the next steps become a little bit more clear. And the paths could be really branching, right? You take one step, and then all of a sudden it's like this next step, wow, I didn't know that was there. I didn't know I could, you know, eventually open up a school and like grow that jiu-jitsu school and build a community and help people do X, Y, and Z. I didn't know that that's a possibility. Or I didn't know that like someone would commission me for a mural and then I'm painting murals, and because we underestimate where those things can go. So yeah, I would just recommend trying and seeing what feels remotely interesting, and refer to that passion podcast that we did that kind of talked a little bit about like the recipe for that. And that was just like, you know, a little bit of interest, like a mild interest, like something that tickles your fancy just a little bit, and then 20 hours, throw in some 20 hours and see what the skill development of that is. Do 20 hours of painting, see what the progression is like. And you start with like finger paintings, and then you eventually get to like oil paintings in that maybe 20 hours. I don't know, probably not.
I think a little longer than that.
But
what I think is super funny too is when we, and I'll use sports as an example, and we can use multiple examples, but I'll use sports. You know, okay, I'm really passionate about field hockey, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not, but in fact, I think it's stupid that you can't use the left side of your stick because I'm left-handed. But anyways, I digress. Yeah, it's only one side, and they're all righty.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah, good. There's some knowledge for you. I'm really passionate about field hockey, right? Well, okay, so run down the field hockey options for you, right, to make money in field hockey. And people will go, okay, well, you're going to be a professional field hockey player. Like, no. There's coaches, trainers, organizations, skill development coaches, videos. Like, off the top of my head, there's content, 50 different ways where you can follow your passion for field hockey and make it a career or make it part of your life every day. And I use field hockey just because I actually didn't know there was adult field hockey leagues, but there are. I've met someone that was in one recently, and I thought it was pretty cool. I just didn't know about it. But like, we as a society raise our kids. Kids' sports are super important. I want my kids to learn teamwork and effort and all the hard work and all the things, but they're never going pro. Like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I won't even say you're wrong because you're probably right. But you know what? There's graduate assistants that are getting their colleges paid for to go to grad school and being an assistant coach on a soccer team. There's, like all the way through, there's all these groups and organizations and people that will help you make this passion of yours a reality. Like you said, how naive to think like, oh, the only way I'm going to make money playing basketball is to play basketball for the NBA. Like,
yeah.
No.
In the combinations of things too, you take field hockey, you say you become a great field hockey athlete and it stops at, like D3 college, whatever. Okay, great. You have that. Then say, all right, I went into psychology. Okay, great. Then you have that. And then say you also have this like, passion of, like a little bit of nutrition or whatever. Wow. What a great resource for someone, the person who works with athletes who has psychology background, college athletic experience and a little bit of nutrition, you could see how that like is super valuable to people. Yeah. And that's just one like very common like athletic example. But sports psychologist or like sports coach, like focusing on like dealing with anxiety or whatever it might be.
Let's do it again with cooking.
Yep.
Right? Like, okay, I don't even know if I'd want to be a professional chef. I do love to cook. I think it's a lot of fun. I enjoy it. We do like cooking competitions and fun stuff like that. And I'm not very good at it, but I can feed myself, which is awesome. Yeah. But like cooking, okay? As soon as you follow that passion down, what are you going to run into? Ingredients, farmers, vegetables, all of these things that maybe you find a passion for, and maybe you are just cooking for your family. Maybe someone will commission you to cook for them. All of these things that essentially are just a hobby that you started because you loved, and now here you are making it part of your life. Right. And I think that's the message that I want people to understand. Like, it doesn't have to be jiu-jitsu. It doesn't have to be sports. It doesn't have to be cooking. I'm going to leave painting out of it because I'm at the finger painting level. But it could be anything. But you got to find something. Yeah. Or else if you find yourself, I was just training with Sean, who's been a guest on our podcast, and he said it best yesterday morning. He said, I just don't want to find myself sitting 50 years old in my recliner with my hand in the pretzel bag watching the Price is Right reruns.
Right.
That's where I just don't want to find myself. So I got to find stuff to keep me motivated, active, passionate. And, you talked about it one time. We talked about running away from an outcome versus running towards an outcome. And maybe we are sometimes running away from an outcome, but let's start to run towards an outcome. Right. An outcome that has us finding ourselves busy doing the things that make us happy.
Right.
And that quote that I just posted yesterday, like how fortunate we are to spend our energy on things of our choosing.
Right.
And if you're not, I would recommend trying.
Right.
That's the point.
Yeah, well said. Yeah. Chasing things that, subtract the overthinking and just do. Just do. Yeah, we think too much. Stop thinking.
Well, I guess I'd like to wrap this one up today by just saying congratulations.
Thank you.
I know it's well-deserved. I'm grateful. I was back about me because we'll make it about me again. I got to be there, which was super cool. It really was. What an interesting universal timing.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to watching the rest of your journey. How many years you got to be before you get a stripe? 5?
I think it's 2 years. Every 2 years you get that.
A little red stripe or something.
Whatever they call a stripe. I don't know. Degree,
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally downplayed that. Degree. Yeah. You're a 5-star general now. Yeah. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you all for listening, and we will catch you on the next one. If you are interested, do us a favor and just tell us what you're interested in. We're probably interested in the same stuff. We'll love to talk about it, share it, and offer our perspective. We'll catch you on the flip side.